The Path.
The Path Bike Shop.
The show was on.
I had the biggest smile on my face.
Taking it to a whole new level.
Pitch and fight shred syndrome.
Do you have like a angry style?
Yeah, we're called Play Hard.
We've had some good times.
Welcome to the Path Podcast. It's December 11th, 2024. My name is Tani. As usual, I'm here with Auk, and we're beyond excited to have Matt, kind of Over the Hump, here with us. Hey, Matt.
Hey, thanks for having me.
So stoked to have you. It's been a long time coming.
Has been a long time. I'm excited to be here.
I'm excited to we are excited to have you on here. Over the Hump has been around quite a long time. It's a fantastic event series here in Orange County. I love it. Yeah, so I guess we'll get into it, Tony.
Yeah, I mean, for me, we've talked about Over the Hump a ton on the show, and the theme is always, how do they make it feel so good? And I'm always like, it's not just magic. It's they do a lot of little things. So that's one of the things I want to get into later. But the vibe is always so good. Such a sense of community. People actually hang out, which doesn't really happen at races. So good props to you for that. And I think our community really needed something like that and still does. So,
15 years, man. This is tomorrow or Saturday, which will be in the past when this pops, will have been our 15-year anniversary.
Congratulations.
So
Congrats on that.
That is huge. That's a long time. That was a lot of races, a lot of time.
I think it's about 193 races since then. Yeah.
Wow.
Pretty wild.
A lot of volunteers, a lot of spreadsheets, I bet.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So how did the concept come about, and how did it get started? Like, what's the origin story of Over the Hump?
Origin story is really has only to do with the fact that I got really fortunate. John Russell, a good friend of mine from college, called me and said, "Hey, let's do this." And I said, "Nope, we're not doing it once. We have to do it twice because we don't know what works if we don't do it twice." And at that point, I'd kind of been bouncing around shops, and we wanted to do a race. We had no sponsors. We said, "Let's go." And there's a lot of shops, Fullerton Bicycles, The Path, Rock and Road, that I just walked in and said, "Here you go." And Tony was one of the first ones that, probably one of the first three guys that I said, "Hey, we're going to do this race. What would you like to come?"
No, Matt, how I remember this, that was the first time I met you. Is that how you remember?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it was my first time, and I'm like, "Hey, here's our flyer. Would you mind putting it in your shop?" And we literally didn't have a sponsor. We were just going to start, and so from there, there's.
And it was a Wednesday, the first one?
It was a Wednesday, and then after that, we had to move to a Tuesday, because there was a dude who drove right up the course, and he was camping out there, and he just said, "I'm coming back after I take my kid to baseball, and screw you." I said, "No, you're not." But after that, they said that night, "You need to change your next race," and so all of our flyers were misprinted.
So someone had they had the right to camp there.
Yeah, they were able to camp, but they were told not to move, and he decided that he was going to leave in the middle of the race, and so the race was going, and here comes this white F-150 right up the course, and we're like, "What the hell?"
Oh wow!
So it was not pretty, but we announced it that night because we knew. I mean, this was 2009. It wasn't Instagram and Facebook ready. We were
Right.
we were kind of early adopters.
So you came into the shop. The idea sounded awesome to me. I had been feeling like we needed some local races that weren't out in the mountains where you had to take a whole weekend or day to get out there. And that was your pitch.
Mm-hmm.
That was part of your pitch. But also you were super stoked, and the energy was just good, and I had a really good feeling about it. And we pretty much were. You also really let us know that you were going to make it about the community, and that you were going to support the people that supported you,
Yeah.
And you really did deliver on that every time.
Yeah. It's just like, for me, it's been a bike race that happens to be like, it's a party that happens to be a bike race. And for that to happen, you really, like, we dress people down if they come and, you know, if they're about shaving their legs and winning a leader's jersey, I get a fun opportunity to make fun of them and say, hey, I'll go buy you a beer if you want to go sit over there. And so I think the levity of how we've done that, and it's not always the same, like, you know, having moved to Montana and having other people MC, there's like, we've had our trips and challenges, but it's been a beautiful thing to be able to keep it for 15 years.
Yeah. Well, and despite the levity and the good vibes and everything, there is some fierce competition out there.
There's
There is. And when we
wicked.
started, it wasn't that way. Like, when we started, it was like this in between option for the soccer dads to race. Like, it was definitely not about, you know, the elite athletes, though we have had Peter Sagan and, you know, Tinker Juarez is racing this weekend. We've had lots of fun with some big racers, but, you know, Ned Overen's been, we've had we've had big names.
Yeah. Yeah. That is impressive. And maybe it's just the state of XC racing, especially in the post NICA era, or, you know, now that we have Nike athletes just racing as adults and everything, but like, man, the speed of like the sport age
class,
group, or even
right.
the beginner age group
Right.
classes are like sometimes pretty searing. Like,
yeah.
I don't know that there's a way to control it either. I think there's an element that, because you're talking about people who maybe not as skilled on their bike, but they're fiercely fit. And so for me, I'm more of an endurance athlete.
Right.
So if I just did the BC bike race this summer. And so as my 50-year celebration, which was awesome, but I'm never going to finish in the top 50.
yeah.
I'm just going to go grind.
But, you know, I don't think you have to control it, because I think that, you know, the people who are there for the experience and the community and the fun, it probably adds to that to have someone really laying it down, going by them. And the people who, I know for me, like, if I remember one time Tinker Juarez passed me on a race course, really like I was standing still, right? And I'll always remember that. That's it's a cool moment and just to remember.
Right.
So, and I think too, probably for the people who are there to impress as athletes, cool to have more people to overtake, maybe. But, I mean, until it's clogged on the single track.
Well, on Tuesday nights, you know, we've been able to get a longer course for the more advanced guys, that they kind of segue off and have a little bit different course. So it's much better now than it was when we had a limited course and we were racing all on the same thing with more overlap. So
yeah.
it's gotten to be a little more fun.
And you guys have always made it a point to remind people, even the really fast guys and girls passing others on the course, that, hey, everyone's going to work tomorrow. You know, maybe not net over end, but everyone's going to go to their job.
Oh, and he, you know, he's going to work, and Gary Fisher's going to work.
Yeah.
Gary, like, he started and didn't finish so that he didn't have to not finish. He pulled off to the side and, you know, kind of got his first 2 laps in. And so, but yeah, I mean, I don't know how I got so blessed to meet so many cool people, but like, having been a nobody in the industry, to get to be in a place where I get to be an influencer and somebody who is part of the circle is really fun.
Well, I would say how that happened is you get what you put out. You got what you put out there. Pretty straightforward, I think. From the outside looking in, that's what it looks like to me, and that's what I see. Because you all, like, you always do so much for all your sponsors and all the racers, and I don't know, it just shows.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, that's the goal.
Yeah, and the crew too. Tell us more about your crew.
Well, we've got an amazing group of folks. Evan Eisenhart is a shop guy and has been at Specialized Rock and Road for a long time. We've got Adam Eisenhart, that's Evan Eisenhart. Adam Torres has been our race manager for the last 5 years.
Right.
We've got, guys that come in and they're really the two. And then recently starting with the slalom, we've been able to partner with the Straights. So Kyle Straight is 2-time Red Bull Rampage winner. Rachel is a national champion cross country and now is about to have a baby in January.
Awesome people.
They're amazing. And so to be able to partner with people like that who I do the email blast at this point, and I come to 3 or 4 races a year, and I live in Bozeman, Montana. So to be able to pull off what we do, it's a total community effort.
Yeah. And the whole crew is always super on point, really professional, but not in a stiff way.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think the goal is like, you look at the guys who have run the race or the kids who have done our course, they've raced. They were part of NICA or they raced with us, Link Cycling, Ryan D'Amato, who passed away last year on December 9th, was part of Compass Bible Church. They run our kids race. We don't even touch the kids race. So and then there's 50 tents on a midweek Tuesday night that get set up, and only 8 of them are ones we put up. And so you start looking at what appears to be a gargantuan effort is really just people showing up and participating. And
fairly sure we've had a tent at every single one. So thanks for that opportunity.
of course, yeah, no, it's really fun. I mean, for me, when I get to come to town, I get to walk around and see my friends. So it's pretty awesome.
Yeah, it's a big family. And so the kids event that you mentioned, that in and of itself is incredible. I mean, how many kids do you usually get for that? Did you say 50?
No, over 100
Over
typically.
100. See, that's a big deal.
Yeah.
So you got 100 kids racing?
That's kids 6 through 11 years old. Yeah.
Cradle to grave.
Yeah. Yeah. And in fact, I've got John Donaldson, who's been part of Kawasaki for years, is coming out. He's 80. I put a note in one of the email blasts that said like birth to John Donaldson. He said he's never been a bookend before. So I bet he'll be there racing. And so we've been so like Kawasaki's been giving us mules for like the 4-wheel drive vehicles. We ran into them at the venue in 2009 before we launched. And like, oh, let us just drop off a couple vehicles and you can use them for your race. And we've had those for 15 years, refreshed every year. I mean, Mazda gives us a car and sets it up so that we can display it on site. I mean, we've just got really cool relationships with people.
I think that's a point that I think is important, that you, at a time when major sponsors from outside the industry have really walked away from the sport, you've managed to get major sponsors from outside the industry back into the sport somewhat, which is awesome.
Yeah, I think endemic is everybody wants money from sponsors that are in the industry.
When I was earlier in my mountain biking experience, that was a normal thing.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's what we expected. But what we found later was the money to help offset some of the costs needed to come from places that wasn't necessarily getting leached by every other sponsor,
right,
or every other race out there. Because it's really easy to say Specialized SRAM, Kona, pay us. The reality is, like, when you get targeted by every single promoter,
right,
that dilutes your ability to be able to participate.
Yep.
And I was looking through some of the pictures and what have you. This has been going on, like sponsors outside the industry have been going on ever since the start.
Oh, yeah.
Right? So,
yeah, that was actually part of our strategy, was just to get, we loved having sponsors, but they come and go. Like, if you look at who the sponsors are.
You had Verizon for a while.
Yeah. Yeah, Verizon. Simple Green's been around for years. we've just had like I said, Kawasaki's been a constant. Mazda's been 9 years.
Wow.
They're back again and
Right.
and looking to increase what they're doing this year. And it's a bitchin' car, by the way. Like the CX50 is awesome. They've got a hybrid coming out this year. So I fly in and I go straight to their regional office and pick up a CX50. I mean, it's the dreamy part of my job for sure.
That's cool.
Right.
Rocking.
Man. So I think I remember talking to you way early on. How has the race grown, or have there been epochs, periods that you might categorize this from the past 15 years where like early on, I don't know if it was ever a struggle to keep it going to, throughout the ages,
Well, you guys probably remember, but we've had 5 different locations at the venue, and never once has it been because we wanted to. It's always been because we had to.
Right.
When we early in 2010, there was so much water at the lake that they brought in floating docks from Huntington Beach, and we raced across floating docks.
I remember that.
Yeah.
that was like, and had them in a couple places. There was one time, I think it was 2013, maybe 14, where we had to put in this orange fence for some
Turtles.
god awful. Yeah, exactly. It was like, I can't even I'm sure I would offend someone if I said why. I don't even remember why, but so we put it up. It was a $6,000 fence. We had $6,000 worth of, in Irvine Ranch Conservancy put it in. We paid for it. And then after our first 6 races that summer, there was a fire that went through and melted the whole thing and closed that section of trail, and we couldn't go back. And so then we had that guy that was building ramps and jumps in the base of the lake because it had dried out so much. I don't know if you remember like that BMX section that was through the middle. And so we've had really fun ways of like playing with the space, but it's caused a lot of stomach acid and lost hair along the way. Definitely. But I think, as we've gone through all those challenges, like we started with a 10 key. The first 2 races were 10 key. The first one was specifically, we did it in an Excel spreadsheet.
So wait, hold on. I think a lot of people don't know what a 10 key is.
I was just going to say.
So like a 10 key meaning like a calculator.
It's like a number
like
pad.
an old-fashioned accountant's special calculator.
Yeah.
Right.
Like it's just, like number
so that's how you're
353,
keeping-
the first race in August 26th.
Wow.
You'd enter the
2009.
times like that, like a number and a time.
Yep.
On a 10 key.
Yep. And then we did it again on a 10 key, the second race in September, but we did it. We bought a software that was apparently timing, but wouldn't be anything what we'd consider like RFID type
Right.
timing chip now. And so that's another one is like Chris Williams, who is he's been around for years. He manages the Irvine Rock and Road. He's our timing guy, and he just handles timing. He's like I think he has the beautiful mind of Russell Crowe. It just he sees numbers and things that I can't see. So we've been through a lot of that stuff, but I think the nature, like even OC Parks has helped at times find ways for us to be able to continue the race. And I've had open dialogues with them where I think other people can't. And that's, if there's a superpower that I have, I think it's a bridge builder. Just been able to continue to tell that story and make it work. But so humbling. Like every time I see people show up, every time the season starts, I just look and go, holy crap, there's people here.
Yeah.
You know, it's
Yeah.
it's,
I bet.
it's very humbling.
Yeah. What's like an average turnout for a race these days?
We'll race like 500. We'll race about 500 people on a Tuesday night. Maybe 75 kids. We're starting now with our dual slalom. We're going to be doing some bench racing this summer.
Bench racing?
Meaning just a little bit of just get in and do some laps, kind of like they used to do at Orange Y, with an ability to race, but not necessarily keeping track. We'll keep track of the scores and allow people to be able to improve their times by laps.
On the slalom track.
On the slalom track,
Oh,
but we
nice.
can't race a full slalom experience on a Tuesday night because of the time it takes to do it.
Yeah.
I'm racing this week, which again, I don't know that that's a good idea,
Oh,
but
heck
I
yeah,
do
it's a
have
good idea.
I do have a full face helmet,
Oh,
and
gosh.
I will be wearing long sleeves and pants. So when I skid,
What bike are you going to race?
you know what? Honestly, I don't know. It's Evan's bike.
Okay.
It's
cool.
pink.
Fantastic.
So
Very
it
cool.
should be a good thing. And the other thing that's been an interesting thing, obviously, was 2020. Like changed my world. I closed a business. It was a $3 million business.
Wow.
That was the one that kept me going. So my family's really given a lot to keep Over the Hump alive over the last 4 years.
Wow.
And if I would have known then, and don't know that I would have continued Over the Hump 4 years ago, I'm really glad we did. But it's been a hard 4 years because for a year and a half we didn't race.
Right.
Oh, man.
For the pandemic.
Yeah. And now being back, our numbers were really good in 21. And that was when the pent up demand of the bike industry and events was happening.
Peaking, right?
And
Yeah.
it's changed. Obviously it's back. Like races are not experiencing all time highs right now. They're, industry wide 30% slough on racing is pretty normal right now.
Harsh.
Yeah.
Oof.
Yep. That checks out as far as like, that's kind of what I think a lot of the industry is dealing with at all levels. About 30% from, well, yeah, like especially from, I think for the industry, I think for a lot of the industry at retail, I think it was 30% down from 2022 to 2023, and then another amount down for some people after that.
Yeah.
And some people had it way worse than that. So you did get maybe.
And then sponsor money is obviously different. And
Yeah.
so
We're glad you hung in there, and thanks to your family for dealing with it.
well, I think, end of the day, I think it's good we're here. Sometimes when we're in the middle of what it's costing us, we don't realize. But I didn't take a dime out of Over the Hump for the last 4 years,
Yeah.
and so that was with plenty of work and plenty
Oh yeah.
of challenges that go along with it. So I
volunteer time.
I thanked my girls the other day and apologized to them, but said, hey, we're gonna keep charging because we're back to the place where it's healthy.
Good.
So
Wow.
that's fun.
Glad to hear that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. Thanks to you and your family for keeping this going. It's a huge service to the community here.
It's really fun. I don't know that I would. Yeah, I don't know what I would do if I wasn't doing it. That's the psychotic part of me. Is like it's part of my fabric and DNA for sure.
So you ran a business and Over the Hump for
Yeah. I ran a tour and bus business that was funding us, and then I spent all my time on Over the Hump because Suzanne Martin was operating the bike race at the time, and she was our race manager, and she did that, and then I did Instagram professionally.
Yeah. She was awesome too.
Yep. Still is.
Yeah. So When did you get into mountain biking?
What's your origin story?
Origin story. In March 3rd, 2004, I crashed a motorcycle that nearly killed me. Went in underneath an F-150 and had a bilateral knee dislocation, so both my knees went to the left. Broke my pelvis in 3 places and woke up in the hospital 6 days later. And I was told I wasn't going to walk potentially. And I wanted to get back to skiing. I was a ski tour operator by trade. And so after I rehabbed, I was rehabbing through riding. I lived in San Clemente, and so I could get out.
Oh, nice, on the single tracks. And
Yeah, and then right by the flagpole that was above the harbor. And that was in 2007 that I started riding. And then, so I've actually raced 2 races before we started Over the Hump. My first one was the Orange Y when I was 6th grade.
Oh, wow.
That was the
Right.
BMX track
Yeah.
for people who don't know.
Yeah, so I raced one race there. I think there were 4 of us in the race. I got 4th. So I did go home with the trophy. And then my second race was on March 4th, 2008, which was the day after my accident history, 4 years after. I raced a little race called Vision Quest.
Ooh, nice.
And that was my second race.
Wow.
And then
4 years after they told you may not walk.
Yeah.
It's fantastic.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Nice work.
I know.
Tell us about your Vision Quest. That's what, like 11,000 feet of climbing. or
11,000
something?
feet, 56 miles.
So was that one of the years that was up Black Star, down Motorway, up Maple Springs,
And
over
Horse
the-
Thief,
over the peak?
like the Horse Thief hike.
Yeah.
Oh
over
my
the
God.
peak.
Manny
yeah.
Prado did it in like 6 hours or maybe 4.5 hours.
Right.
And I think I did it in 8 hours and 39 minutes.
Oh, that's really
That's
good.
that's great.
I think that's a little bit faster than my PR on Vision Quest.
Exactly.
I do think that's right around my PR actually for Vision Quest.
Yeah, so it was a good. I coaxed a couple friends to do it with me, and
It's a great event.
That
we
is,
we
yeah.
did it. It was awesome, and
And
I
down
swore
Holy Jim
it.
and up West Horse Thief and down Trabuco.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. It was, and it was gnarly. I was outgunned for sure. I was shooting for 8:30, and I ended up with a flat at the top of West Horse Thief. So I think I probably would have done it.
Nice.
Was 9 minutes short of my goal, which was cool. But John and I went up to the Team Big Bear, watched one Team Big Bear ride, talked to Tom Spiegel, came back, and a week and a half later launched Over the Hump. And we basically made it with like 4 or 5 rules. And rule number 1 was have fun.
Right.
And that's continued to be our guiding principle. And we I think that the thing that's been beautiful is we're not racers. Like a lot of race promoters racers turn promoters.
Yeah.
And so they're looking to create what they've had.
Mm.
And we wanted to create something that would be for everyone and that would allow, and we've struggled a little bit with like women being included, because I think there's always an element of like when things get really intense and scary, kids and women don't necessarily feel included. And so, or there's a tendency for that not to happen. And so that's been one of our struggles, is to try and keep the equity in that. But
Has that gone easier to accomplish some level of that over the years, or no?
I think that there was a time when Charity, my wife, would race, and it was early. I don't know. I think, part of it is just, I think as women have kids and things change, then there's an element, and this is not meant to be a generalization, but it does seem to be true of the friends that we have that are in this space, that unless you're already a racer, you don't necessarily want to go pin it with a bunch of people going super fast and crazy.
Yeah.
So Charity felt like she was not super interested in that. But there was a time when Brandon Gritters and Rob McGee like were racing, and there was a girl who went down in front of him, and they all stopped the race. So they literally stopped, and probably had 10 guys in that elite group that just sat and waited till she was off the course.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
And so that was probably 2012, 2013. But I think that's who we have always aspired to be.
You definitely have more participation from kids than you did in the beginning.
Oh, for sure.
And I would imagine you have more participation from women than you did in the beginning. Maybe not, but not the same.
I don't think the women as much. We used to have more like high level, like fast women. Our women groups are still smaller than I'd like them to be.
Of course.
But I think we might get out of a 500 person field, we might see 50 women racers.
Yeah.
I think healthy numbers would be more like 30%. So 150, but
that'd be a good start. Right. Yeah. No, I think the whole industry is trying to figure out how to be welcoming and inclusive to where everyone wants to participate. Yeah. And you're not alone. You're not alone in finding it difficult.
No.
So, but it's cool that you're trying.
What did your like recovery story look like from, the time you wake up after 6 days and 4 years later you're finishing the Vision Quest?
I was in a wheelchair for about 4 months. I had 8 different surgeries over a year and a half.
Wow.
So it was I think, and even still, like, I'm not solid on my, like, I have to work out to stay strong, but I ski again.
Wow. Great.
And I'm definitely stronger when I'm riding.
Sure.
But it's kind of one of those things where I think one of the things I have been able to do, and part of why I've started coaching and being involved in the executive coaching role, is there's reasons why we run into, like, when we have strong challenges, we get stronger recovering. And so for me, you do the work and you put the reps in,
right,
and you end up being free because you got the reps. And so that's part of my next chapter, and it's part of where I've come from. And having been I've had plenty of challenges, and I'm divorced and remarried, and not by my own choice. And so there's parts of that just have become fighting for being healthy, fighting for being strong, fighting.
I trust you are remarried by your own choice.
Remarried by my own choice. Yes.
if you need any help, just let us know.
No. Remarried by my own choice, and to a wonderful woman who
just show me 3 fingers if you need me to call the police.
Yes. No.
So you're doing an executive coaching thing now?
I am, yeah. So we're launching some online resources for the best 2025 you can have. So those will be linked up later in the show. But for me, the joy of what I'm doing is like getting to the point where you can envision a life that you want to live, that you would be so excited about, and getting tools and being able to get there. And a lot of times people just need somebody to walk alongside them and make that work.
Sure. What's it called?
It's called NTHOOZE. So it's the same brand that the enthusiast group is what we call the Over the Hump's parent company, but so it's NTHOOZE.
Oh,
and
cool.
So we're launching a $100 version of a $225 module class that'll launch in January. And so right now it's $100 if anybody does it before then. So and there's gonna be a little bit of a live, and so we'll get to do that. But there's also some online work. And
so who should sign up?
If you want to lose weight, if you're thinking about starting a business, if you're stuck with kids who are on social media that you're not quite sure how to move through some of their challenges, really anything that you want to see that would make a life-changing experience in 2025. And so it's a perfect time. We're sitting here at the end of the year, and the option to participate and think through the things you want to do, lose weight, get ready, get trained for an event. Like it really could be anything.
Cool.
Start a bike shop.
Yeah. keep a bike shop going, maybe.
Keep a bike shop going.
I mean,
Exactly.
Just do a podcast. How are you going to build it? Yeah.
So NTHOOZE, did I get that?
OOZE.com.
NTHOOZE.com, and you can check out some opportunities to make some progress.
Real simple landing page. It's just $100 sign up now. After the first of the year, it's going to be $225. So, and then, like I said, it's a thing we're going to walk through for 4 months. Get a couple pieces of modules. That'll be 4 different modules that you get to do, and it's gonna be a fun thing. I'm excited about it. It's a new thing for me.
Fantastic. Yeah. So, pivoting back, what was the first? What was the bike that got you to the Vision Quest?
It was a really heavy. I don't know. It was probably like a 32-pound, 26-inch stump jumper.
Nice.
Full suspension.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
Interrupted seat tube.
Yeah, interrupted seat tube.
Was it red?
It was red.
Oh, I can picture it now.
Yeah. I can send you pictures.
That'd be great.
I had a
B-roll.
Donjoy knee brace that I was wearing.
I have one too. Yeah, I still wear it.
So I don't wear it to ride anymore. I should, but yeah, that was definitely had some extra weight going on. Giant camelback, and I just remember like that huge like gut bomb from previous version Cytomax, and the Cliff Bars that I put in there, and like just remember like I spent like 3 days recovering from what I ate.
Yeah. I definitely remember getting some really good advice on my first Vision Quest, which was make sure whatever you're going to eat on that day, you go on some long rides and eat that and make sure it works for you.
Yeah.
I didn't get that advice.
The boiled eggs in a plastic bag.
That's one of my moves for sure on long
Tani
rides.
shared that years ago. I remember taking that on Vision Quest with me. Yeah.
A little bit of protein.
Yeah.
So, you don't know yet what the schedule is going to be for the summer racing, or do you?
Yeah, we'll start in April. And we've got 4 summer series. We are still kind of playing with what the winter looks like. We've decided to skip winter for like the upcoming winter. Because for 2 years in a row we got rained out, and I'm not sure that I will have any hair left at all if we do that. So canceling has been really hard on the schedule. So we'll start in April, and then Kyle and Rachel are going to be participating with our weekends. So we'll have some weekends, and currently they're October, November, December.
And that's code for there will be dual slalom, or there's always going to be dual slalom.
There'll be a dual slalom with the straights, and I mean, as long as they want to be involved and we can do that together, I think it's a really healthy thing for us to do together.
Yeah. Do you think you might ever do it on a different day, or is it always going to be on the same day as the XC?
It's possible. I know you'd mentioned that before.
I like the idea of a different day, maybe. So it's a full focus and maybe just I think you could get a bigger turnout without getting fully impacted, you know.
Yeah, I think there's probably an upside to that. The hard part about what we do is it's a wham bam thank you done conversation. So a lot of times we'll be done and off, and I think the hard part about, as you know, supporting events is if you've got 2 days, you're probably picking one. You're not necessarily coming to both.
Mm-hmm.
Where, you know, a Sea Otter concept, or, you know, the big bike festival up in is in Monterey is like, that's a camping thing. You're there for the weekend. It's destination, so you're going to stay. But one thing we've been able to do, which has been unique, is people come and they're done. They get to go home. They get to have dinner at home, even if they're done on a Tuesday night.
Exactly.
The Saturday thing is really, it's a challenge, or it's a blessing, but we're still at the time when we're done with cross country, people are done with cross country, and so they're often leaving, and then the dual slalom's going till the end of the day.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm always open to ideas, but as of right now, there's no the cost of running the venue twice is also a significant cost.
It definitely has to add a lot of efficiency to do it on the same day. Yeah.
So,
but we're stoked you're doing it. I mean, it's awesome that there's an event like that.
It's been fun.
A long time coming. How
fun.
much turnout are you getting for just that event?
We've seen similar, like 400 people on a Saturday.
Wow.
The slalom this week, we're capping that out at 160.
Okay.
And we should see 400 or 500 people for the cross country.
Wow.
And then another 150 for the kids race.
Oh my gosh, so many humans.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
And that's just the racers.
That's the racers.
There's
So they
other
usually will
humans there,
have, like,
too.
you can easy put 3 or 4 additional humans on every racer. So cars, we see 400 cars, like it,
That's a
which the venue counts that. I don't count that.
couple 3,000 people.
Yeah, I'd say easy 2,000 people.
Wow, that's fantastic.
Really good for the industry, and the fact that we have such a strong industry here in Orange County is pretty special. You know, in Bozeman, Montana, where I live, like the population isn't there, the industry isn't there, so it'd be tough to pull something like this off.
We are super lucky to have the trails, the population, the general demographics to be able to support a place like the Path, an event like Over the Hump.
Mm-hmm.
It takes a lot of riders. It takes a big community.
And that midweek, I mean, it's all of that coming together where roughly right after work, midweek, you're drawing that many people.
Right.
That's not a lot of places can do that, right?
Well, and we've actually struggled to do it on the weekends as much as we have midweek because on the weekends you're competing against soccer and you've got baseball,
soccer,
and
baseball,
you've got all
basketball, football, you name it.
Yeah. So I think, you know, we own Tuesdays, and that has been some of our magic sauce, and you know, just down the street, and most people can get there within 30 minutes.
It is 30 minutes from everywhere.
Yeah, it is. And like you said, they can get home in time for dinner.
Right.
And if not dinner, at least they're home for the nighttime routine. So it's like you can take care of family matters.
I just remember, like, when people said, "You're going to do what on a Tuesday night? We can't get off work. That's not going to work."
Yeah.
And we said, "Okay, well, then don't come."
A lot of people who turned out could come.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, I'm sure there's people who can't. But we've been excited to see it all work. And, you know, obviously we've seen people come and go, and but I mean, Luke Ronsky, who he did when I rode the Stagecoach 400, and I bought I bought an El Mariachi salsa here, and he did my fit for that ride, which did not help my saddle sore, by the way.
Oh, bummer.
I think it was a user error for me, but he's running a company called Rig now, and
Yep.
he's out there. You know, we've got
He's always one of the main reasons. Like, I'm always super stoked to run into Luke at Over the Hump. And his family, his kids usually there, and his wife.
he calls it trailer park racing because there is a trailer park there.
There is a trailer park.
We were super fortunate to have Luke work here for a lot of years and then have him on the podcast, and super proud of him for growing to being the founder and leader of a pretty solid outdoor brand, Rigged. Shout out to Rigged.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, they're always growing. They're growing in different ways as well. You know, they're always competing in that manufacturing space.
Mm-hmm.
I think I read something they're making moves to bring manufacturing in house.
Solid.
Yeah, so that's a huge move.
I've seen them popping up more and more, largely because of my Google algorithm, I'm sure, but they're doing a good job. And
Yeah, all you got to do is say Overland and they'll pop up on your algorithm.
Yep. I'm gonna pop that on my CX50 and be looking pretty bitchin' here. Yeah, I can't wait.
Hey, Matt, question that we got asked recently, and or maybe we didn't get asked it, but we ask sometime. What would you say to a younger Matt? Whether it be, what would you say to a younger Matt in the years leading to the founding of Over the Hump, or even to a much younger Matt?
Gosh, I don't know. That kid may not take any advice.
Wise. Very wise.
I don't know. I think I've been more surprised by what I've been able to do or who we've done it with than I have done it by design. And it's always been kind of a humble, this is going to sound like self-inflating potentially, but like my humble approach to you, Tani, was there was excitement, but it was also like, hey, I want you to come do this, but it was definitely not a pound my chest. We're doing this. Screw everyone. We wanted to get advice. You gave me a lot of feedback. I don't know if you remember Tim from Switchback Cyclery back in the day.
Awesome guy.
Yeah.
I still see him from time to time.
And he was the one, he came out with us and looked at the course and kind of gave us some ideas. But yeah, I think the biggest thing for me has been the friends I've created within the industry have been friends like Steve Blick was one of the very first guys I met. Andy Lytle was one of the first guys I met. We were handing out flyers and he saw him, and then he introduced me to Steve and a bunch of other guys in the industry. So when we just press go, and fortunately, I think John Russell, my business partner, was maybe a little more confident, and I was more industry insider. And so it was I'm just humbled. Like I said, it blows my mind that we've created this brand that has kind of straddled decades at this point.
Yeah.
It's true. I was drawn in by the fact that you were kind of like a little bit vulnerable about some of your doubts, and you weren't, I don't know if this was as much of a buzzword back then, but you had the same kind of authenticity and just kind of chilled conversation that you do here today, where it wasn't like I didn't feel like I was getting manipulated or pitched or anything. It was more just like, hey, like, this is what we're trying to do. What do you think? Like, you think you guys want to be part of this? Like, yeah, it was how you said.
And we did need partners. Like we needed people to come alongside and do it, because we were just two kooks that were getting started, and it was awesome. I still am totally humbled, but I have no doubt that it's here in 5 years or 10 years.
I got the sense, I think looking back on it, I got the sense that you respected the challenge of what you were undertaking. Maybe not as much as you would from your current perspective, but I think you did.
Yeah, I think, and I think we'll be here again. There's going to be other challenges. And somebody recently asked me, what's to make sure that you're here next year and the year after. And I think the only thing I can tell you is that we've been through some pretty significant
Challenges.
stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we're still here. So I'm confident that we'll overcome things. I'm confident if we had to find another venue, as crappy as that would be, that our community of 1,500 people would do that.
Right.
Yeah, I believe in you. That's cool. Maybe a little bit of shop news and see where we're at. Just wanted to mention that the shop's closing early on December 4th, or December 24th, rather, Christmas Eve. We'll, of course, be closed on Christmas Day.
Close early at 4:00 on Christmas Eve.
Yep.
And close on Christmas Eve. We'll probably have the chance to say this again too, but are we closing early on New Year's Eve? Are we closed on New Year's Eve?
Closing early on New Year's Eve. I think closed on New Year's Day, if I remember correctly.
Got it. Yeah. So keep that in mind, folks. Yeah, I think. Is that a podcast?
It definitely isn't. It was a podcast. It's been really awesome having you here, Matt. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me. I feel pretty blessed.
Yeah, we are too. Let's not wait 11 or 12 years that we've been around and 15 years that you've been around before we have you on again. Yeah.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
I'll pop in. It's fun to be here. And I got my big hat that's down there that I'm repping too.
Matt's part of the Big Head Club and the Hat Club.
Yeah.
The musical colors. Auk and I
Cheers. That's right. Cheers. That's for sure.
Well, thank you, Auk. And thanks to everyone out there. And let's all remember to love the bike we ride.